Today I'm going to show you how we are going to make our slab clay bowl that we're going to be working on. It's pretty neat, just like a simple bowl made out of slab that will eventually glaze with black underglaze and then a clear glossy glaze over that to give it a really nice shine. What you're going to need is a hunk of clay like this, about 2 pounds, but I will be cutting it for you, so you should have just the right amount. What you want to do when you get your clay is lay down your canvas sheet, obviously, on your desk. That way the clay doesn't stick to the table. Then you want to take your clay hunk and kind of smash it down just a little bit. I'm using my palm to flatten it. Once you have it a little bit flat like that, you can just set it aside for 1 second. You're going to use a plastic bowl for your mold to make your clay slab bowl. I chose a small one, but there's a couple different sizes back there. It's up to you which one you would like to use. You're going to use newspaper, and you want to tear the newspaper into about 1 inch to 1.5 inch strips, and the best way to do that is to tear the newspaper the long way. Newspaper here has a grain with it, so it's a lot easier to tear when you tear with the grain, so I tear the long way. And then I've got this nice long strip here that I'm just going to tear in half. Now, we don't want our clay to stick to our mold, so I'm going to organize my newspaper and kind of crisscross it and overlap it either on the inside of my bowl, or you can even do it on the outside. Either way will work. So this time I'm going to organize it on the inside. It depends whether you want your line design on your bowl to be on the inside or the outside. If you want it to be on the inside, you're going to want to arrange your newspaper on the outside. Now, if you want your design to be on the outside of your bowl, you're going to want to arrange your newspaper on the inside. I'm going to tear a few more newspapers. You really have to cover the bowl completely with newspaper so that the clay does not stick, because you don't want that to happen. Not to mention that it will be very easy to get out of the mold once it starts to dry a little bit if you have this newspaper inside of it. So I'm just arranging the newspaper just so that I can't really even see the inside of my bowl anymore. Okay. Then the next step is to take some twine like this, and you can just cut yourself off a piece like about, I don't know, mine's about 2 feet long. Take it back to your table. And you're gonna want to decide what kind of line design you want to make. Now, I wasn't very fancy with this one, but it still is very effective and looks really awesome. So you can get really creative with it and make a really intricate design if you'd like to with the twine, or you can do a simple design. It's up to you. So I've got my twine here, and I'm gonna kind of just eyeball it how I want to cut it to make the impression into the clay. Gently just set it in there. A piece like this. A little piece over here. Do a piece over here. So I guess I'm being a little more fancy with this design than I was with my first bowl. Okay, so I like that. I could add more if I wanted to, but that's good enough for me. So I'm going to set that aside and bring my clay little hunk back to the canvas over here. And what you want to do now is take 2 dowel rods, they're kind of like little sticks, and set them roughly about 10 inches to a foot apart. They need to be able to slide, your rolling pin needs to be able to slide on top of them. So if you set them too far apart, the rolling pin can't slide on them. So it has to be just so the rolling pin edges can hit the tracks, kind of like this is your train and this is the train tracks. So what I'm going to do then is start flattening out my clay by doing a push-pull motion. And you'll notice once you get the clay flattened out a little bit, you can feel that the rolling pin is starting to roll on your dowel rods. And it's getting thinner, which is good. Now you can only roll it out so much. The dowel rods are preventing you from pushing so hard that you roll your slab paper thin, which you don't want to do. Paper thin will crack and break in the kiln. So really make sure. Sometimes you can put your hands on the rolling pin too if that helps you instead of using the handles. Works exactly the same. You want to be really neat with this. You want to have a nice even slab to work with. So take your time with this and really get it rolled out really nicely and evenly. Now this clay is fresh out of the box, so it really shouldn't have any air bubbles in it. But if you've taken any clay lessons in elementary school or before today, you know that air bubbles will explode in the kiln. So if you happen to see a little bubble pop up inside of your clay, you definitely want to get rid of that, and I could help you do that. You just need to poke it out. So let me know if you happen to see something like that. Alright, so I've rolled it out to the point where it can't be rolled anymore, so I'm going to remove my dowel rods and set those aside. Now my slab right now is still pretty thick, so if you see it, the dowel rod's a little bit thick. So if you want to make it slightly thinner, I'm going to turn my slab to roll it. You can see it was kind of oblong, so I'm going to kind of flatten it just a slight bit more. But you have to be careful because you really, again, you can't roll it paper thin. Otherwise it will have a tendency to really get cracking and breaking. So I'm just going to flatten it just a bit more. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to set my bowl back on top of it. Now, you're going to use a plastic knife and you're going to need to cut out a circle form that will be laid in your bowl. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle at all. What I'm going to do is take my knife and gauge about 2 to 3 inches outside of the bowl, and I'm just going to slide it around. Remove my bowl, and that looks fine. Okay. Now I have an extra clay here, so you kind of want to put that back up into a ball, and this will be recycled, so please don't throw it away. We'll put it back in the clay boxes so that it can be used again. Now at this point you have to be pretty careful with your slab when you pick it up because you don't want to stretch it out or break it. So gently with one hand kind of holding the canvas down and one hand peeling the slab off, and then hold it with 2 hands. Now you can see it's fragile, but it's not that fragile. It's kind of like a pancake right now. This side is very smooth. This is the side that I rolled with the rolling pin, and this is the side that I'm going to press into my mold. This side, however, has, you can kind of see the grain of the canvas on it. So this side I'm going to smooth with my finger after I press it in. So the smooth side right now, I'm going to lay that into my bowl kind of carefully here. You really kind of got to be gentle with it. And you can even feel the twine underneath your clay. Now it's up to you how much clay you want to leave outside the rim of your mold. I am going to cut mine off because I don't want it there. So I'm just going to take my knife and cut it away. Or you could even just tear it. That works too. Okay. And then you really want to just use your thumbs and fingers and push your bowl clay into the mold really nicely. You definitely want to get that imprint of string onto your bowl. Now the string design on this bowl is going to be on the outside of the clay. On this bowl it was on the inside. So either way will work. So I'm really pushing it in there. Now I'm going to just take my pointer finger and I'm going to smooth any and all cracks that have occurred. You don't really want to press too hard, just kind of smooth it out. Alright. Now the edges too, if you want to clean up the edges with your finger, you're welcome to. I kind of like the rough look of them, but I can understand why some people wouldn't. So if you want to smooth the edges a little bit with your finger, you're welcome to do that too. You really don't need to get your hands wet at all for this. The wetness will make the clay take longer to dry, and there's really just no reason for it. The clay's already very moist. So no water, just smooth as is. Alright, and once you smooth it all out on the inside and you're satisfied with the look of it, bring it back to the island table so it can start to dry a little bit, and you need to clean up your area, and you are all finished with this step of the process.